Hey everyone, and welcome to day 7 on the trail. Today I'm going to show you what's in my backpack, and before I get to that, I wanted to just give an overview of what ultralight backpacking is. This is an idea that totally changed all of the gear that I bring on the trail. And like I mentioned, the first summer that I went backpacking a lot, my backpack weighed about 30 pounds without any food or water in it. And this idea of ultralight backpacking is getting your base weight down to 10 pounds. And your base weight is defined as everything in your backpack except stuff that you're going to consume. So that it excludes water, food, and fuel. So I've never gotten down to 10 pounds, but I've gotten down to 12 pounds, which is pretty light. And so why I started looking into this was, like I said, when I finished the John Muir Trail with that heavy pack, I had plantar fasciitis. So I started working on that, which I just told you about. And then on the other side, I tried to reduce my pack weight just to stress my body out less. And the idea with the ultralight backpacking is that you can hike farther per day and you can do more stuff. You can go off trail if you want to, and I have done off trail hiking, which has been very, very rewarding. So a couple books that were really helpful for me were The Ultimate Hiker's Gear Guide, which is by Andrew Skurka, and he's a very accomplished backpacker who has a lot of great resources if you're looking to get into this kind of a thing. He has a website with a lot of great articles about different backpacking gear, and he also has some content on YouTube. So that book he wrote for National Geographic, and I see it at REI all the time, so that's a really great book. He gets into the nitty-gritty of, like, he shows you what the different like clothing materials look like under a microscope. So that was one book that was helpful, and the other one is Ultralight Backpacking Tips, which is by Mike Clelland, and he's definitely an outside the box thinker. So some of the stuff I've never implemented. He's pretty hardcore about it. So for example, I'll show you. I have a headlamp which usually has an elastic band on it, and he goes as far as taking the elastic band off, and he just sews the headlamp onto his warm hat, because he's like, well, usually you have that on at night when it's cold out and you're wearing your hat anyway, and you save, part of an ounce by doing that. But he has a lot of other great tips which I have implemented, which I will tell you about. Okay, so here we go. I have my backpack here, which you can see is it's pretty compact. Like I said, in the past, I've gotten this down to 12 pounds. I'd say it's probably closer to 15 at this point. I've added some comfort items back in, and like I'm studying Spanish, so I have a Kindle in there and some extra like electronic devices, and I've added a heavier jacket and stuff like that. So it's still pretty light. The pack itself is the ULA CDT, which it's a frameless pack, so I'll show that to you, but let's just get right into this. So I'm gonna unbuckle it here, and I'm just gonna start taking stuff out of here. So I have my platypus here. I just filled it up because I'm stopping for the day, so I got a bunch of water to camp with. So that holds a couple liters of water, plus my smart water bottle. It gives me close to 4 liters of water capacity. And I have my bag of food here. This is all in what's basically a giant Ziploc bag. It's called an OPSAC lock sack, and it's odor proof. So the idea is that this keeps rodents away at night and other animals from getting into my food. The food stuff I have been talking about separately, so I'm not gonna get into that right now. I have this plastic container to soak food in, and fuel canister. This is almond butter. This is my pot that I cook food in. So it's a Tox Titanium, 750 milliliters, and that is plenty of space for one person, and I just eat right out of there. And so that was all the stuff that can get wet, basically. And then I have this giant plastic bag in here. This is a trash compactor bag, and so you can buy these at some supermarkets. They're kind of hard to find. I finally just ordered this off Amazon because it's usually a whole hassle to find them, but they are, they're very durable. So, I mean, this will last at least a month or probably more. It could probably last the entire summer. You might have to patch up some holes with duct tape, but so the idea here is everything that needs to stay dry goes inside of this trash compactor bag. And the system works really well. You just kind of like roll up the top and tuck that in there and nothing gets wet. So this is where I have my sleeping bag and everything. So I'll show you that. This is either my tarp or my bivy sack. And this is either my tarp or my bivy sack. I have a warm hat. I'm gonna do a thing about my clothing separately. This is a Kindle and my Spanish study materials. And then we've got warm jacket. So it's basically the stuff I sleep in, and I need to stay warm. So some warm socks I sleep in at night, so I don't sleep in my sweaty hiking socks. These are a pair of fleece gloves. And the sleeping bag, it's actually a quilt. This is an ultralight thing. So a quilt, it's basically like a sleeping bag. It's just, there's no zipper. So see if I can show this to you. Also, you should keep the sleeping bag off the ground. So let me see if I can show this to you. So that's the back of the quilt. It's just wide open. The toe box is closed. So the idea here is that the insulation in a sleeping bag that goes around your back isn't actually doing anything because you're laying on it, so it's compressed, so it's not really insulating anything. And so basically they just get rid of that insulation, and then there's no zipper, which also saves some weight. I mean, zippers, I guess, weigh maybe an ounce or two. So this thing is rated down to 22 degrees, I think. It's the Catabiotic Allsec, and it's down. I really like the down sleeping bags. Unless you're gonna be in like a rainforest, you really don't need a synthetic sleeping bag, which perform better in the wet. Down sleeping bags, I found that they just breathe a lot better. I had a synthetic bag at first, but it just was either really clammy or I was cold. So I didn't like that. And then the down bags are just, they last longer too, because synthetic bags eventually compress down over time, so they won't keep you as warm. Whereas down bags, I mean, you can have this thing for 10 or 20 years and it will perform basically the same. The thing you need to be careful about is if this gets dirty or oily, it will start to not insulate as well. So I try to keep it as clean as I can. It's just I've been using this for several years, so I'm sure it's not quite as warm as when I bought it, but it seems about the same. The other thing about down is that it does not insulate if it's wet. However, newer bags like this one have treated down with like water resistant coating. So it can, in theory, it can insulate still if it gets wet, but this is one piece of gear that you just never want to let it get wet. So that's why that trash compactor bag is really important. And really the biggest risk, I would say, to me like dying out here would be hypothermia. And one way that could happen is if I let my sleeping bag get wet. So you just have to try at all costs not to let that happen. So that's that. That's a really important piece of gear, obviously. And that's it for the bag. So this is the bag. It's just a big trash bag. Now this is one thing I picked up from Mike Clelland, that Ultralight Backpackin tips. This ULA CDT, there's actually no frame in here, but he suggested to use your sleeping pad as a frame. So that's what I do. So this is a foam sleeping pad. It's the Nemo Switchback. Thermarest makes basically an identical product. So I just fold this up and this becomes the frame of my backpack, and that's worked really well for me. So that's ultralight because it's one thing, but it's serving two purposes. What I will say about doing that is that the part of the pad that's behind my back, which I haven't been rotating that, it's getting really compressed. So even just after hiking the Arizona trail, it's really compressed. And I was a little chilly a couple nights ago, so I don't think it's really insulating me as much as it was. So I'm probably going to pick up a new sleeping pad when I'm in Breckenridge tomorrow, which it's kind of a waste because they cost like $45 or $50, I think, and it just shouldn't wear out that fast. But so that's happening because I'm using it as the frame, so I don't know if there's a better solution for that. Most backpacks have a frame in them, which basically helps support the whole pack and distribute the weight evenly. So most ultralight backpacks have a thin internal frame. I just like this because this backpack is like, I mean, I can throw this in the wash, you know, it folds up to like nothing, and it's really durable, and it was also way less expensive. This backpack cost $150, and I bought it in 2021, and I've been using it every summer since then, and I've had to replace like a couple of the buckles and stuff, which you can get replacements for that. But other than that, it's basically in perfect shape, so that's a great deal. ULA makes the Circuit, which is the most popular backpack on the PCT normally, and that's about $250. I think it's even more now. So the other popular brand is called Hyperlight, which REI carries now. A lot of this ultralight stuff you can't find at REI. So like my bivy and tarp, for example, I ordered it. The company is Bora Gear, BORAH, and same deal with the quilt. REI doesn't carry a lot of quilts. So this kind of gets into more like specialty equipment, and you're ordering from these little companies who, it's like maybe some guys in his garage, you know, sewing the bivy sack. That's kind of what it seems like. And you have to order it like 5 or 6 weeks in advance because there's like one person making all of them. So that's something to be aware of if you're getting ready for a big trip. You want to order all your gear way ahead of time. So I have a couple hip pockets here. I usually keep my phone in one of them, and then this is new for me this year. It's a Garmin Inreach Messenger, which lets me send text messages over satellite if I don't have cell signal. And the reason I got that was because on the Arizona trail, I was trying to meet up with friends along the way, so it was just convenient to let them know if I was still on schedule. It has an SOS button, so that adds a little bit of safety. And then it also tracks me on a map, which is kind of fun. So I'm paying $35 a month for a Garmin subscription for all that. They have a $10 a month one if you're just going to basically use it for emergency purposes only. And I get 40 text messages per month. I also have tent stakes in here. I don't know how interesting that'll be, but this was from Mike Clelland again. I basically have two of this. It's like a little bit beefier. This is the MSR Groundhog, and I use that for the ends of the tarp, which are the most important part. And then I have these are lighter for the corners, and so it saves a couple ounces. You know, the ounces really do add up. Like I said, you know, even just adding like the Kindle, a little bit of a warmer jacket. I added a bigger battery for my phone since I'm doing this video stuff. That adds up. I mean, that's probably like an extra pound right there. But the weight is fine for me. So you go as light or as heavy as you want, you know, as long as you're having a good time. That's the main thing. People can get kind of competitive with this. So now I'm in the back pocket of this thing, and so again, all this stuff can get wet if it rains. Oh, so this was a Windbreaker, which again, I'll talk more about my clothing later. I have a little bag with like my toothbrush, floss, a lighter in there. I think some nail clippers. This thing is a little water scoop. Shout out to Peppa from the Arizona trail. He showed me this. So sometimes you get to a water source. I actually just used it for the first time on this trail. If the water's really shallow, it's hard to fit your water bottle in there. And this, if you buy a Sawyer Squeeze, you get these little pouches with them. And I just cut the top off of that. And then you can just use this to scoop water if it's a shallow water source. What else? This is a waterproof bag where I put my electronic stuff in here. So I have a battery in here, which was also new for me this year. It's the Nightcore, I think it's the NB10000. It's 10,000 milliamps. So it's got some weight to it, but apparently it can charge my phone 3 times. I have an iPhone mini, iPhone 13. and this was a little pricey. It was like $70, but that's pretty much what all the ultralight people use. And another great resource for ultralight stuff is the Ultralight subreddit. I basically typed in like power bank, and you know, almost immediately I found the post about this one, and it had the most upvotes, so I just kind of went with that. But I have like my other charging cords in here, and like to charge my iPhone, and my headlamp actually uses it. This plugs into the wall, so this is my headlamp. It's the Black Diamond Storm R500, I think. So it's rechargeable. This was new for me this year as well, because I expected to be hiking in the night a lot on the Arizona Trail due to the heat, which really only ended up being one night. So this was expensive. It was like 70 or 80 bucks. The other reason I got this was, as I was getting into trail running, sometimes so I told you I ran a 15K. That was actually at night, and you need a good headlamp for that. So I figured I might use this in the future for that too. And I don't know, it was just kind of a splurge, I guess. So it's rechargeable, which is nice, because otherwise I had to carry batteries before. Not a huge deal. So for years I used the Black Diamond Spot 350, and that was totally fine. And it's probably like $30. Rain jacket. This is a rain skirt, which I'll tell you more about later. I like it a lot so far. This is a first aid kit. I kind of just got a day hiking one off the shelf. I probably shouldn't be admitting this, so I don't even really know. There's some basic stuff in here. Honestly, the only thing I've ever had to use in here was Band-Aids, fortunately. Somebody from the Arizona Mountaineering Club, shout out to Chris. He's like a very well-trained wilderness first aid responder, and he gave a whole presentation about what is in his first aid kit. So I need to kind of sort this out at some point and be more intentional about what's in here. But I mostly just use the scissors to open up my packages of food and stuff like that. So there's some basic medicine in there if I need it. This is kind of my little repair kit. I have tenacious tape, which is really a nice thing. You get a roll of this for like $8. And I was just patching up my tarp last night. It sticks onto nylon really well. So if I get a hole in my tarp, you can see I cut out some little holes here, and I patched it up. You want to circle, because that's, I guess, harder to come off. But I've had patches of tenacious tape on my tarp for years, and they never have come off. And like if I tore my pants, my hiking pants are nylon, I would just put one of these on there, and it survives, you know, in the wash for a really long time. So that's a really nice product, because you can't really sew nylon to repair it. This is just a needle, which I made this little thing to put the needle in, but I have had to sew stuff on the trail before, and basically the ultralight tip is to use dental floss. Use dental floss. Apparently it's a lot stronger than thread anyway. And so I have done that. Like certain parts of my backpack, some of this stitching will get loose occasionally, and I'll just reinforce it with the needle and dental floss. And we're getting down to the bottom. I have a pair of glasses in here. This is really important. It's a Mosquito Headnet. This is really an essential piece of gear. It costs like $10, and it's really light. It's probably less than an ounce, or about 1 ounce. And it's just a headnet that you put on. I don't carry bug spray, mostly because I don't want to spray the chemicals on myself. It's really only a couple nights that I've needed it, where the mosquitoes are so bad. I mean, if you have a head net, so what I do is I basically just put on my Windbreaker, and I can put something on my legs like this wind skirt, and the mosquitoes can't bite through that. And then if you put this head net on, you're pretty much bug proof, except for my hands. So if you want, you can bring some bug spray maybe for your hands or something. But if you have this piece of gear, you'll go a long way in protecting yourself from mosquitoes. This is some extra Guidline that I have, and in case the Guideline's kind of wear out after a while, so I can replace that if I need to. And then this is also about 20 or 30 feet long, so I can hang something in a tree if I need. So say I get a hole in my odor-proof bag, I could always just hang my food from my backpack in a tree if I have to. And this is the syringe for the Sawyer squeeze to back flush it. That might be it. Yeah, that's everything. So that's everything that's in my pack. It was a long process to figure out the right gear for me, and one of the tips that Mike Clelland gives is just to try something new every time you go out backpacking. And I thought that was a great tip. It took a lot of experimentation. I spent a lot of money on gear over the years, you know, probably several $1,000s. But I got this down to this system in 2021 for my Colorado thru hike, and I made a whole spreadsheet and weighed every single item, and that's when I got it down to 12 pounds. So the thing for me is just I'm comfortable with it. The ultralight process, it was nice because I just carry less items now. So I feel less likely to leave something behind by accident. It's easier to keep track of everything. And I am actually more comfortable with less gear because these books are written by people who really know what they're doing. So as you read up on the topic, you'll know what gear is really essential and how to do stuff for less. That's the whole thing, is kind of being more efficient with the weight that you're going to carry. So that's everything, and I hope you found that interesting. All right, that's it for day 7 on the trail. And overall, the last couple of days have been really enjoyable. A couple of days of hiking. It hasn't rained at all, and the views were amazing, especially up at Georgia Pass. I really enjoyed that. And the mosquitoes are still out, but nowhere near as bad as they were the previous couple of days. So, and also I had a couple shorter days because I was running ahead of schedule. So that's something I'm working on, is if I am running ahead of schedule, to slow down and take some more rest time. So this morning I really got to sleep in and then had a shorter day, which was really nice. So I'm going to Breckenridge tomorrow and hopefully upload these episodes and get some real food. And then I'm back on the trail and heading to Leadville, and I will talk to you later.